Yo, what's good YouTube? Today I got y'all a new top 5 meta loadout video, so if you guys enjoy it, be sure to break 200 likes, make sure you subscribe, those notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so hopping into it here to show you guys what we're using first. That's going to be the ABR A1. So this right here got used a ton in all the different pro tourneys. A lot of them are really liking this thing, whether it be 5 or 8 attachments. Let's show you guys a good 5 attachment build. I'm not a fan of 8 attachment builds. The reason I don't like 8 attachment builds, obviously because you can't run an overkill wild card, which allows you to have your 2 primaries essentially, like your AR SMG. I don't like that, so I like to just run 5 attachment setups. But for 5 attachment setup, we're going to be using firstly extended mag 2. You guys want to use this given us 60 rounds in the mag. It is absolutely necessary to run an extended magazine. Whether you run 1 or 2, it's a little bit up to you. It is a burst, so it's not like it's paramount to run extended mag 1 versus 2, but I like to run extended mag 2. Under barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the vertical grip here. This is pretty standard. There's no real reason to run anything else different. It doesn't make a difference. I shouldn't say it doesn't make a difference. It's not like any better to run, let's say, the G grip or the Ranger or something else like that. Like for an actual AR, long distance AR, you're running the vertical foregrip like every day of the week. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Get help unlocking Dark Matter, Abyss, and Nebula camos in Black Ops 6 with Mitch Cactus. They're absolutely the biggest and most reliable in Call of Duty right now. Whether you want something across multiplayer, zombies, or Warzone, they're completely legitimate for all platforms. They're super trusted by the community, and you may have seen them all over YouTube, and that's for good reason. They'll unlock all your camos, augments, and more without needing to lift a finger, with over 17,000 reviews and thousands of personalized vouchers. They're the go-to for all things in Call of Duty. Use code CHUCK at checkout for 5% off. Barrel section, y'all want to run the Gain Twist barrel. The reason y'all want to do this is because you can take a look at your damage distribution, which is fantastic. Your damage at effective range, already 45.7 meters, and you want to have that extra bullet velocity, which is going to push you out to 1276. And that is going to make this gun feel significantly better than, let's say, running the reinforced barrel, which will give you more damage range, right? But also your bullet velocity will be a lot less. And when you're running a 3-round burst, it is going to feel better to have that faster bullet velocity. So I would suggest for you guys to run the Gain Twist, kind of no matter what you're playing, Rebirth, playing Verdansk, it doesn't matter. That's kind of what you want to run. So after that, though, muzzle section, you guys want to run the compensator. I will say another good option is the mono suppressor. This can be used for sure, and that'll of course push you out to 50 meters of damage range, and your bullet velocity is going to be wicked fast. That's going to be almost hit scan at longer distances, so that's really cool. But overall, the compensator here is going to be what I'd suggest for most people. You can essentially hold down the trigger, not move your thumb off the stick, and it'll basically go back into the same spot. Especially when you test it in the firing range, aim at a dummy, it will go back to the same spot. So that'll make it so that you don't really have any bounce to it, and you can just kind of hold down the trigger and get that nice 3-round burst in the fully automatic form. Don't be confused though, because of course, you'd have to have for actual full auto, you'd have to throw on the rapid fire, which I don't believe is good in Warzone. That's more of like a public match multiplayer thing. So now lastly, for the optics section, you guys want to go in here, kind of use whatever you want, whether it be a red dot like this Dobrich, to use the Volziski reflex, or you can go down here and run something like the Jason Armory 2x, well as 3 times, and something I'm not as big of a fan of is going to be down here a little bit more so, and that's going to be the R and K multi-zoom. I don't like the way the RK multi-zoom functions. I'm not a fan. I think the zoom in is just a little bit weird. It's not my preference, so I don't personally use it. But pro players do like it, so that's an option. But otherwise, Willis 3 times, Jason Armory, any of these other ones up here can basically use what you want. Choose what you want. It's not going to matter too much, just personal preference, what you like to have. But that's just going to be the full build right there. Next up, going to be build here for the MP5, aka the C9. This is one of the most tried, true, consistent SMGs in all of Warzone right now. So let's get you guys to build for it. First thing, magazine. Of course, you want to use extended mag 2. Not to be confused going down here. Like I know some people see this 10 mil auto 30-round mag. Honestly, all the stat nerds have done their testing, and when you combine basically the fact that you lose fire rate, you gain kick. I know it says you gain damage range, bullet velocity, and damage, but when you kind of factor all that stuff in, and you also, put into perspective that it's like, what is the practical TTK, not just the statistical, because, when you factor in the regular TTK of something, that's like 100% shots hit. Like that is not counting for people missing shots. So when you factor in the practical TTK and everything else like that, it is essentially worse to run the the 10 mil mag by like a decent stretch. And even if you hit every shot, it is so negligible in your difference that it's not worth it. So run extended mag 2. Rear grip, you guys are going to want to go in here and run the ergonomic grip, pretty standard. I've run this on every single one of my SMGs, unless I am making a different style of build that's not going to be like hard meta. This is what I run. Stock section, you guys want to go ahead and throw on the infiltrator stock. I think this is absolutely wicked, and it really allows you to move around quite nicely. It's one of my favorite ways to run this gun. Underbarrel section, I would say for you guys to go throw on the vertical foregrip here, or the Ranger, kind of up to you and what you want to run. I think the vertical foregrip, at least with this specific build, has been kind of like my go-to recently. It feels incredible, really like it. So I can suggest that, or, you know, the Ranger, up to you guys. And then lastly, barrel section, the long barrel is indeed the move. I'd say, like, you don't really want to go down to the reinforced barrel. You're not really going to notice that bullet velocity. The one thing is here is that, you know, it says it increases your bullet velocity, which is awesome sauce, right? But at the range in which you are using this, it is not going to be noticeable that you're going to get that increase in bullet velocity. You're just going to feel that less damage range because everything is relatively hit scan at this range that you're going to be using this. So think about it like basically first dummy in the firing range to maybe second dummy. Second dummy is like what, 20-25 meters out. If you're using your SMG for 25 meters, then that's not really the like optimal thing to do. You should pull out your AR for anything above relatively, well, you know, 18 meters. So you want to do that. That's going to be the full build. Next up, let's give you all a build here for the Ames or Ames 85, whatever you want to call it. Don't really care. But this is actually a really solid and fun AR to use. So I'd suggest for y'all to try this thing out. Magazine, of course, extended mag 2. Don't really got to explain this one to y'all. Underbarrel section, also pretty similar. I don't really have to explain it. The vertical foregrip is the move. I know there's other things in here. Some people like to really mess with things and be like, oh, I can use the G grip and I can try this out. Like, listen, the G grip, no matter if you're using an AR or an SMG or anything that you can put the G grip on, largely speaking, it is not going to be better than either the Ranger foregrip for closer range or the vertical foregrip for longer range. So just to kind of put that out there, the G grip is essentially a useless attachment. Much kind of like the lightweight marksman foregrip, precision, like all these are essentially useless minus the vertical and Ranger. It's kind of just the way it is. Barrel section, when you go in here and you take a look at this, you can see your damage range, you know, 39.4 versus the other one when you take a look at is the reinforced barrel. You know, it's very negligible in difference, you know, let's say 39 to 43. That's not something you're really going to notice. What you are going to notice is that your bullet velocity is not nearly as fast. So you want to go for the gain twist on this thing. The only difference would be is like, hey, if you can run the reinforced barrel, if you want to go throw on, let's say, a mono suppressor, but the mono suppressor is kind of like not the move on this thing because the recoil will be a little bit too much, and I wouldn't suggest doing that. So go for the gain twist on this. I guess speaking of the mono suppressor, I have tried it, and I have tried using it with a bigger optic to help with the recoil control that obviously I'm not getting because I'm not running a compensator. I still say even for somebody like myself that's like an 8 KD player, really good at the game, it's not worth it. So I just go for the compensator, hit more of your shots. You may have a little bit less range, a little less bullet velocity, but your shots are going to be going a lot more on target. So, you know, you would rather be more on target than have a little bit extra bullet velocity. It makes a large difference. Now for the optics section, pretty similar to the ABR where you can run essentially whatever you want. There's not really a bad optic in here, minus anything past the Willis 3 times. Like I said, I don't like the RNK multi-zoom, so that'd be the only other optic I would suggest. Largely speaking, I always go for like some type of red dot because I exclusively play Rebirth. So for me, I'll go for this. If any of you guys are playing for dance, probably go for like a 2 or 3 times and you will essentially be good to go. So I'm gonna go slap on this full Ziski. And of course, when I go in here, I always change the reticle over to the blue dot. I think that is significantly better. So that is going to be the full build. Next up, let's give y'all a build here for the SOG. This is really, really fun to use. Honestly, I think y'all have a blast using the SOG. One of the fastest moving SMGs in the game, so like you really can't go wrong using this thing. First thing, magazine, you guys want to use the extended mag 2. Rear grip, you guys definitely want to go in here and use like what I've been saying, which is the ergonomic grip. It's standard on every single SMG that I build, so go ahead and run that. Stock section, I would say that basically there's 2 good options in here. The infiltrator is really good to use. You will find that you are able to strafe like crazy You can even see that it says your ADS movement speed here. It's like literally right below my face cam. It's 4.4 meters a second versus if you get onto the balance stock, it's 4.1. And you also get some extra movement speed and crouch movement speed. So realistically, if you feel like that extra 0.3 meters a second is like, you know, make or break for you, run the infiltrator. But largely speaking, the balance stock is going to be awesome. And then you could also technically get away with running the light stock because this will give you one of the fastest overall movement speeds. I know my face cam covers it. Fastest overall movement speeds in the game. So that's actually pretty cool. But I think largely the balance is the move. Underbarrel, this is also another gun where I'd say that running the vertical foregrip is perfectly acceptable just because the SOG, if anyone's ever used it, if you've used it, you know, it likes to kind of jump around a little bit. So we don't want to make it so that's hard to use. So the vertical is perfectly fine to use right there. If you feel comfortable running the Ranger foregrip, then go and run the Ranger. Honestly, I've ran both and I kind of don't really have that much of a preference. I probably will say more often than not, I'll go for the Ranger. But the vertical or Ranger is perfectly fine. It's like the C9 where you can use either or and not feel like you're missing out on extra movement because they're already pretty fast and it's not like you're feeling like you're slow. And then lastly, barrel section. This is another case where you just want to stick exclusively with the long barrel here, 15.2 meters versus 13.4. We also don't really care about the bullet velocity. The range you're going to be using this thing at is going to be, you know, obviously essentially hit scan, like I said. So you just want to use the long barrel and call it a day right there. So that's the full build. And last but not least, I want to give you all another SMG. The Jackal is one of my favorites right now to use because of the overall movement capabilities. And not like movement where I say like, you know, a movement I'm going to YY spin around, do all that dumb stuff. I'm talking like you just feel very fluid, very fast when you use it. So it's like super awesome. And let's get into it here. First thing, magazine, of course, extended mag 2. Rear grip, of course, we're going to use the ergonomic grip, pretty standard right here. Stock section, this is right here. I actually really enjoy using the infiltrator stock. So like you see, you get, you know, 4.3 of that ADS movement speed versus the balance stock is 4.1. So realistically speaking, you can run the balance stock or the infiltrator. I like the infiltrator, like, so this is like more of a personal preference thing rather than strictly numbers based. But overall, you can run the infiltrator, the balance. I know some people like to go for the no stock. I personally don't care for that. I don't think it makes the gun inherently better. It doesn't accentuate any of its attributes. I think I'm using a lot of crazy words here today in this top 5, but we're gonna use the infiltrator or the balanced. Underbarrel, y'all want to go down here and use the Ranger. I'm trying to say, like, you know, you could also use the vertical like with like the other ones, but I just prefer to be faster using this SMG. So I'm gonna go use the Ranger. It will still kick. You're gonna have to pull down a little bit, but it's fine. And then of course the long barrel here as well. I know the reinforced only 14.5 to 15.8, so like realistically speaking, could you get away with it? Yeah, but I just stick with the long barrel. I want that maximum damage range. Like I'm not really using this outside of like very close quarters, so that bullet velocity thing is kind of almost like null and void to me. So I just use the long barrel. Anyways, that right there is the full build. That's my top 5, guys. Enjoyed it? Give it a like, subscribe, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.